time in their mind? When depression and even suicidal thoughts cast a shadow over your home, as a parent, you feel powerless. There is hope. At Turnabout Ranch, troubled teens step away from the chaos and into a clarity of nature on a working cattle ranch. Care for horses, learn responsibility, build trust, and rediscover purpose. It isn't theory, it's real work. Real therapy, real healing. Families from across the country have found transformation right here, just when they thought hope was gone. If your teen is struggling with addiction, harmful online behaviors, even weight management, call right now and get the help you all need.
800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. That's 800-219-2494. People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks. Celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is the live Allman Report here on the day commemorating the life of Martin Luther King Jr. And, well, first of all, it's a 3-martini lunch. If a lot of you are off work, then day drink away, please, and listen to the show. You're going to enjoy what I have for you. Going to talk to Linda Ragsdale. She's a council person on the O'Fallon City Council. And after the potty-mouthed mayor went off on people over a tax abatement thing, you know how some of these politicians love just giving away the citizens' money, and this is causing trouble for him. He's having to apologize, so we'll follow up on that. Also, an old friend of mine, and maybe you're familiar with him from back in the Fox News days, Dr. Keith Ablow, and he's going to be joining me at 1 o'clock. We're going to discuss the new MAHA, all the food regulations and deregulations and kind of myth-busting and that kind of thing that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been doing. And so that's going to be interesting at 1 o'clock, and other health issues as well. So, yeah, this is interesting. So the Democrat Party, just like it did during the days of Martin Luther King, is attacking churches. That's interesting. The Democrat Party, and you guys know, I explained the whole chain here, the historic chain of the Democrat Party. And eventually you're going to have to come to the conclusion that it must be destroyed. And probably will be, maybe by it's not it won't be intended, but it might just be anyway. But you guys know the historic trajectory of the Democrat Party, right? So you know that the Democrat Party's main claim to fame was defending slavery. And now, of course, their main claim to fame is defending illegal alien rapists and child molesters and things like that in Minneapolis. ICE agent had to tell them that.
We're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
Oh, they're not. No, we're pressed. No, we're not.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's who they're protecting. And so, of course, back in the day, the Democrat Party, it was a tough lesson to have to learn about the error of the Democrat Party ways during slavery. We had to kill 500,000 of them and burn Atlanta before they actually got the message that they were wrong. And since that time, of course, the Democrat Party has, of course, impeded the rights of black people historically, really, and added a new category of people they would discriminate against, and that would be the Jews. So they added a new target of their hatred and their traitorous nature. So, but back to the black experience at the hands of the Democrat Party, they were the ones that kept the little girl from going into the school, and Democrat George Wallace had to be taught a lesson by the National Guard at the hands of Dwight Eisenhower. And, of course, they, like I said, burned churches, assassinated civil rights activists and things like that in the rural areas of Mississippi and everything else. And people kind of forget, because they're separating like the KKK from the Democrat Party, and there is no separation. The Democrat Party has always been a toxic force in American society and American U.S. history. Always. And it's now reaching a fever pitch. And just like it was in the days of Martin Luther King, the Democrats are now attacking churches. So yesterday at a church in St. Paul, and this was led by, even though he's going to deny it, this was led by fired CNN anchor Don Lemon. And it's vile seeing what occurred here. And you can hear Don chanting as they all burst into a church and disrupted the service.
You're actually, you're interfering with
Renee good. 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 Don't shoot. Don't shoot.
And of course, it's interesting that they bring in the big hands up, don't shoot lie. That was created right after the death of Michael Brown. It's interesting, too, that the Democrat Party and Don Lemon, in their cynicism, is trying to equate the death of Renee Good to George Floyd and Michael Brown, because even if you were in the black community and you thought Michael Brown was some kind of hero, whatever, you see how these white Democrats and half-white Democrats like Don Lemon are co-opting the Black Lives Matter movement and civil rights movement to defend Renee Good and illegal alien rapists, if you can believe it. So, again, the Democrat Party hasn't changed seemingly at all. And Don Lemon...
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the civil rights movement was about, The civil rights movement was about...
Unbelievable that Don Lemon would be so unaware of the history of the Democrat Party and churches, especially around the Martin Luther King holiday. During the time of Martin Luther King, Democrats were burning black churches. They were burning and invading black churches. And if you could imagine that Don Lemon will use that civil rights history to rationalize bursting into a service, a Sunday service, and disrupting it. It's beyond the realm of any kind of comprehension. And if the news media or anybody else can't imagine this being the last straw. I mean, and these people don't even understand just how much disdain these individuals in this church are now going to have for them and their movement. And it is sure as hell something they're going to ultimately deserve. And what Don Lemon did eventually was interview the pastors, talk to the pastors, tell them what was going on here, but excusing away this vicious attack on the church is, and it is absolutely unforgivable. But the thing that's really important for you to remember is this is not unusual for the Democrat Party. This is keeping with the Democrat Party history.
You violate people's due process when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution. When you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the civil rights movement was about, the civil rights movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I...
Yeah, and you remember when the Black Lives Matter people were harassing people and everything else. You remember that time that they were saying, well, you know, we need to make people uncomfortable. We need to disrupt. We need to do this and do that. Well, they're at this point going to do it at their peril. And again, right now, most of this is isolated to the hellhole that is Minneapolis. So essentially, this civil war is going to be easy because they're all in one place. And once things kick up, once things go one extra notch, this will take about 2 hours to put the insurrection down. What happened yesterday at this church is something that Don Lemon ought to be charged with, by the way. He ought to be charged for this, for civil rights violations. Just like the Democrats should have been charged when they burned down churches during Martin Luther King's day. The symmetry here is very, very clear. Don Lemon is even standing outside the church, virtually kind of gloating about the fact that what happened is once the protesters came into the church out the other way, little children had to be led out the back way.
Hugging his kid. And, you know, I've imagined it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful, it's very slippery right here.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery. Not kidding. That's what protesting is about.
Yeah, that's what protesting is about. Terrifying children and having people, and some of them were hugging their children as they walked out the back of the church. This was a terrorist attack is what this was. This was a domestic terror attack. And I guarantee you, if this were any other flavor but the Democrat Party, there would be outrage across the nation. And guess what? There's a little bit more outrage here eventually, even among some people who might call themselves liberal or what have you. But this was really the last straw. And then in the aftermath, if you can believe it, Don Lemon acted like he wasn't the ringleader here. He acted like he wasn't doing anything. In fact, he threw the organizer of the protest under the bus, even though it was clear that he was leading these individuals into the church like the Pied Piper.
MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this assistant...
I still can't believe. I mean, do these people understand in any way, shape, or form how bad this timing is on the eve of MLK Day? You're attacking a church? On the eve of a day commemorating a guy who, of all people in history, stood up for the rights and the freedom to assemble, religious freedoms, freedoms to vote, everything else. And these fascist piglets in the Democrat Party took the eve of MLK Day to crush the rights of free assembly of people in the St. Paul Church, to disrupt, to make uncomfortable, and to terrorize. It's unbelievable. And I can't figure out whether not one person in the group might have said, hey, we might want to wait until next Sunday maybe, or something, instead of the Sunday before MLK Day. How could you possibly think that was a good idea? But that's the problem. And the Democrats of today, the blue state Confederates of today, have the same problem that the Confederates had back during the Civil War. They don't know when to stop. They don't know when to quit. They don't know when to stand down. And eventually, some of them have to be shot in the face before they stand down. And others are going to have to be arrested and put down in other ways in order for them to stand down. It's gotten to the point now where they are a violent group of domestic terrorists who are going to have to be taken out and taken care of. That's the only way. The same way the North did it to the Confederates, the decent people of America are going to have to do it to these Confederates. There's just no other way around it.
Attorney General, I don't know, what's her name? Something Hammett, Dillon, or whatever. So I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests.
Can you believe this? This is a guy whose voice you can hear chanting Renee Good and Hands Up, Don't Shoot on his camera as he's live streaming. And now he's claiming, well, I didn't even know about this organization. I didn't even know whether they're going to go to this church or not. So these guys have taken it one step too far. And at this point, and Don Lemon knows, because Don Lemon is acting like he is trying to separate himself from the whole thing, right?
Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization.
Yeah, just standing around. I was just following them in, even though we can hear your voice on the tape as you're live streaming the event. And you're live streaming the event. They know you're there. They know you're televising it. And this was an absolute purposeful stunt. And so at this stage of the game, and these people better be careful, because at this stage of the game, there are people and good people. And you know what? The crazy thing is, a lot of these people in St. Paul, that St. Paul church, I think it's an Episcopal church of some sort. They're probably, a lot of them are liberals. And they're going to be, at this point, off the train in any kind of sympathy for these people. Once you have invaded their space like that and made them flee with their children out the back end of a church, the sympathies are going to be over. And I think a nice chunk of America are saying at this point right now, send in the troops. Send in the federales. Send in the military. let's go ahead and do the Insurrection Act, because I know that a lot of people, I said this last week, that that might be just what the Democrat Party wants because they want to take attention away from the fraud. But that's never going to go away. The fraud thing isn't going to go away whether you arrest Tim Walz or not. So at this stage of the game, one more, there can't, I don't know what's going to happen at this stage of the game, but they almost killed two independent journalists yesterday, stole his camera, beat another one with sticks and things like that. The people are starting to accost people who aren't even in Minneapolis to support ICE or anything else. A couple of tech workers at a coffee shop were surrounded by these insurrectionist terrorists. And there's only so much you can do. Even members of the Minneapolis police force, some of them are resigning and joining ICE. So things are starting to deteriorate rapidly for these individuals. But at some point, it's probably going to save some of their lives if the troops come in, because at some point people are not going to accept this as Americans. That's just all there is to it. So good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report live here on this MLK Jr. holiday. I know people sometimes will argue, like, well, would he be a Republican or a Democrat? I don't know. I don't think Martin Luther King would want to have much to do with either party, to tell you the truth. He'd probably be more sympathetic to President Trump, because MLK Jr. wanted to make America great again, too, for a segment of society that wasn't participating in the greatness of America thanks to Democrats. Coming up, the great Linda Ragsdale. She's a councilwoman on the O'Fallon City Council. The mayor, the potty mouth mayor there, is in a little bit of hot water. We'll talk about that on the other side of this. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Gemini Wealth Group, the GeminiWealthGroup.com. Jeff Portman and the rest of his crew. So I had a chance to meet all of them, the whole team, at their Christmas party over the holidays. It's really, really fun. They're great people. And one of the things you need to know is that when you go with the Gemini Wealth Group, the GeminiWealthGroup.com, you are being assisted by a team of individuals who have amassed probably more than 100 years in experience in investments and retirement planning and all kinds of things. And they each bring something really kind of special to the table for you. So you're getting a committee that is dedicated to making sure your retirement is the best it can be, that your golden ages are great, and that you're not scrounging around the folds of the couch for extra change by the time 25 years rolls around into your retirement. So what they do is they take what you have as far as your investment, your portfolio, whatever, and they tell you, hey, we're going to go ahead and target the investment here, target it here, we're going to diversify here. They've got a special kind of approach, a special plan that is really going to be amazing for you, to the point where you can maybe even live off your dividends for a long, long time. That's with the GeminiWealthGroup.com. And these guys are also great at making sure you're planning, long-term planning for all the costs that you're going to incur, whether it be housing costs or medical costs or those kind of things. And then finally, if you have any kind of situation where you have a tie to your paycheck, right? And you're trying not to get away from the paycheck because you're comfortable with it. They can give you the permission slip to go ahead and retire. Relax. TheGeminiWealthGroup.com, TheGeminiWealthGroup.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
On this day honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I think it's worthwhile looking back over some of his most famous quotes. They stand the test of time. One, on character and purpose. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of a true education. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of convenience and comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge, controversy. Another one, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And still this on love and hate. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. And I have decided, he said, to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. He added that the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by bad people, but silence by the good people. He also said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, crawl. Do whatever you need to keep moving forward. And then this one, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert Weather Team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
I need to practice my trumpet to this, I think. I did practice a little bit, yes, over the weekend. I was actually getting pretty good at it.
I say a little prayer for you. Walk home in my hair now and wondering what dress to wear now.
I knew eventually. I was just wondering what was going to happen. Whether somebody was going to take issue with me comparing the Democrat Party to the Confederacy, but that was the Democrat Party. So you don't know about real history. It's like, dude, I do, and I knew there was going to be one person who was going to take a poop on the stage and defend the Democrat Party, dating back to 1861. The fact of the matter is they're using the same kind of arguments about state sovereignty and all that other nonsense that the Confederates used. And I realized there were nuances with what the Confederates were up to. For some, it was an economic thing. I get it. Economic sovereignty, I get it, because the North had all the industrial goods, all of industry, so it was easy for them to go after slavery. But nonetheless, you get the point, though. I mean, there are a lot of ways that the Confederates were really not all bad. But at some point, you need to stop. And when even Lincoln was said to the Confederates, he said, listen, you can have your slaves, just don't expand it. And then they turned around and went into Kansas. It's like, okay, idiots. We're going to shoot you. And that's what happened. And then we're going to burn Atlanta. And then you're going to surrender on Appomattox and behave. That's how things are going to go. And that's what happened. And so, I mean, if you want to make this about, well, that wasn't all it was about with the Confederates, it's like you can, argue that all you want, but people who are of a modicum of an IQ understand what I'm saying. And stop giving the Democrat Party an excuse. They have been awful throughout history. They have been a pox on this country, a pox on society. And wait till you hear more about what Schweitzer has to say, not only about the Democrats, but also about the Republicans, and how the replacement theory is real and has been. And he's got a new book out, and I'll have him on the show at some point this week. But, man, is this thing long overdue. But what happened over the weekend in Minneapolis, especially with the church situation here, that is the end of the line and should be. Once you have terrorized and attacked a church, you are done and should be. So we'll see how this goes, and we'll see what happens today as these people celebrate MLK Day by defending illegal alien rapists and child molesters. It'll be and attack churches. It'll be what a way to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for a long time I have known Linda Ragsdale. She's an amazing conservative, and ultimately I knew her long ago, really, actually, Linda, before you even were on the O'Fallon City Council. How are you?
I'm good. Long before I even thought about running for council. And by the way, I was just grooving to your bumper music. I'm sad that it's not playing anymore.
I know. I got to tell you, Dionne Warwick and Burt Bacharach, what a team. I could listen to this kind of music all day long. I got to tell you, it's a good.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you were a listener to the show, Common Sense Radio, a long time ago, and then ultimately, like a lot of our friends, you were inspired to get involved in politics and finally kind of put your money where your mouth is, and you're on the city council there in O'Fallon, and you had sent me a video that ultimately wound up making news. Mayor Bill Hennessy, I can't play it on the air here because, of course, it's it's so foul-mouthed. But it was shocking, really, because it goes to show you, it gives you a little inside, because once you explain the issue that was at hand, you'll see why it's so hard to kind of break through this swamp that exists in all kinds of communities. So, Linda, how did this roll out? How did this happen?
Long story short, Bill 7908, which is the bill in question, it's been in the works for several years. It has to do with a sports complex that was talked about being built here in O'Fallon that would bring with it restaurants and a couple of hotels and things. And it would be really great for the community. My position on the council was that some of us didn't feel like we were getting the whole story from the mayor's office and our economic development department. While there had been several conversations, I had been in several conversations about this project from its inception, there had been newer aspects toward the finalization of the project that I had questions about, and I felt like my questions were not being satisfactorily answered. So as a common sense conservative, I ended up being a no vote, and I can't speculate why the others were no votes, but what I can tell you is that the other three that voted no on the council have only been on the council since April, and they didn't have a full history of what was going on with this project and all the backstories and what have you. So a few of us did end up going back to the table. We got the correct answers that we were seeking, and now this is not to say whether the project is going to get approved or not, But we, as a group, did feel that there was enough merit to at least have this project reconsidered. And it's important to remember that 40% of our council have only been representatives of O'Fallon since April. And so they were not part of the old, the conversations from before. And I think the mayor just assumed that the council was going to just blindly approve this project, despite having several questions that were not clearly answered.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with the tax abatement issue. This has been an ongoing issue, my goodness gracious, going on more than 30 years, that communities have essentially sold out just for the need or for their feeling of the need to have businesses come. They gave away the treasury. Basically, they basically said, we won't tax you for the longest time, and they just basically let them build, do all that. But tax abatement has been otherwise known as tax incremental financing as well. TIF districts have been, in some ways, good when used right, but also devastating to some communities. And this was kind of a mixture of that issue with the tax abatement, correct?
Yes, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is, you guys just simply had more questions. This wasn't a matter of just kind of like blindly being anti-economic progress or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, so Bill Hennessy. I mean, do you know him, or is he? What kind of guy is he?
I always say that Mayor Hennessy, he's very personable. I mean, we both go to a lot of the DARE graduations here in town, and we sit up on stage together, and he jokes around with the fifth graders, and he's a really great individual. I really like him as a person, but I just really don't like the way he leads the city as mayor. I feel like he's a little iron-fisted, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's clear that he has had an assumption that everybody was going to go along to get along and do what he wanted to do, and thus his frustration. And really, unfortunately, I think what happens is when you talk about iron-fistedness, sometimes it also we've experienced that almost at some of the national levels, local levels, whatever. That when people try to be questioning or discerning or in any way independent from the party line, they get turned on by some of the establishment politicians or people who've been around there a long time. That's why a person like President Trump became instantly attractive, because everybody talks about talking truth to power. The only guy who's ever talked truth to power without really actually saying that obnoxious line was, in fact, President Trump.
Right. Yeah. Kind of going back when I was talking about, the mayor leading with an iron fist, I will say this is not the first instance that me in particular has been on the receiving end of his some of his demeanor, whatnot. A few months ago, I don't know if you are aware of this. I know that several of your colleagues had talked to me on air about Castle and that whole situation. There was a then sitting council member who is an owner of a construction company, and we were taking vote this particular evening on this construction company being awarded a $23.5 million contract to build the police training facility. And while I, as a conservative, certainly not against the police, I did have an issue with a sitting council member who is a part owner of a construction company, basically financially benefiting off of the backs of our hardworking citizens. And this made me very upset.
Yeah.
And so I was invited by several different radio shows to come and talk about it. And we had a strategic planning session with the city and all the council members that week. And the mayor actually had everybody leave the room except for those of us on city council so that he could yell at me and one of my colleagues that it was not appropriate. So he was mad at us for going public with what was going on rather than addressing the situation. And what was interesting in that situation is we were the ones that were getting all the hostility, yet the council member who ended up accepting the contract and has constantly been making various Facebook posts disparaging me and my colleague, nothing happened to him. So this is just yet another example of him coming out being the aggressor toward a couple of us on council because we are doing things and saying things that he doesn't like. And I don't think that that's appropriate.
Yeah. I know for this one, he's going to be apologizing. He has apologized, and then he'll be apologizing to all of you at Thursday's meeting. But still the issues still remain, regardless of the language around them.
Yes, but I'm still questioning his apology. So the email that we got said it was an apology for his actions and his words via email, and he says that he will make a public apology on Thursday. But he never says who he is sorry to. Is he sorry to the four of us on the council that he name-called? Is he sorry to the residents because he was being disrespectful to his seat and therefore disrespectful to the residents of O'Fallon? Or was he sorry that he got caught? So what exactly is he sorry for?
Yeah, and obviously his position, I mean, I think the question also has to be, what made you so mad? Like that got you to the point of saying that, and we want to hear what made you so mad. I know you're mad. I know you use the language. I know you're apologizing, but tell people why you were so mad, and then we'll learn. Then we'll learn something about really how things are operated or how he operates.
Right, and I don't even. This might sound wrong to say, but I don't even have a problem that he used the word that he used. I thought that lacked professionalism and that it was wrong. However, what is bothering me about the situation is that he thought it was appropriate to sit up on that dais and during a formal official meeting name call, whether you use bad language or not, that you're up there name calling council members who didn't vote the way you wanted them to vote. That is what I thought was extremely inappropriate.
Yeah, and I would like to know, because, you never know in this day and age, but how he didn't know that his comments were being broadcast is beyond me. So sometimes you do that, and maybe you don't get caught, whatever, and you get the word out there, and you get it out there, and then you have some lame apology, but you're still on the record as saying that. And I find it hard to believe he didn't know that he was going to be broadcast, but that's another story for another day, because sometimes that's all purposefully done, and all you have to do is apologize, and and that's it. And there's a little Post-Dispatch story about it, and that's about it. So we'll see. All right, well, Linda Ragsdale, thank you so much, and congratulations again. I know you're running for another term there. I think you're having an event, if I am not mistaken. You have an event going on the 11th of February. So,
thank you. I do indeed.
At Goodwood Brewing and Spirits.
Yep, got to support our local businesses.
Right on. That sounds good. Goodwood Brewing and Spirits. I've never been there before. That's right on South Main in O'Fallon. That's on February 11th from 6 to 8. And that's a campaign kickoff party for Linda Ragsdale. So thank you so much for joining us, and appreciate you. And here's a little more of your tunage that you might want. This is a little bit since you like Dion.
I get to leave without some bumper music.
There you go. All right, Linda, you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. Thanks.
All right. It's Common Sense Radio coming up live here on MLK Jr. Day. A guy you might remember, his name is Dr. Keith Ablow. Used to be on Fox, but he's a really great guy when it comes to truth-telling about what you are putting in your mouth food-wise and everything else and health-wise. And so he's going to be on with us. We're going to kind of explore RFK Jr.'s Maha movement and the redesign of the little food code. And also, Peter Schweitzer has a new book out, and it's really scary, but not surprising. And that is about immigration being used as a weapon. And we've talked about this before with Jim Carafano, and we know it to be true, that it's not about virtue. It's not about being nice and generous. It's actually a regimented, well-planned undermining and takeover of the United States of America. So we'll talk about that too. It's Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that my buddy Gene Bentrup and his guys at Benchmark Automotive, man, I love these guys. I was just down there last week in Valley Park, and really super easy to get to. Benchmark Complete Auto, Valley Park. Check it out at benchmarkautorepair.com. Gene has been a longtime friend of mine, and man, does he do great work. And he backs it up, offering a 12-month or 12,000-mile warranty on qualified repairs. And you mentioned me or News Talk STL, and you're going to get a 10% discount. So you can check it out at benchmarkautorepair.com. I got 4 brand new tires for my Jeep. I was kind of afraid of the price on these babies because they were the larger ones. They were the 18s. And he was able to work out a really great deal for me, as he will for you, for new tires, for oil changes, for wheel alignments, inspections, or expert diagnostics and repairs. So you want some people who are, number one, supportive of your brand of free, common sense, conservative radio, right? And you also want to make sure that you're with a guy who takes great care of his employees. I love going down there. His mechanics are all really cool. He's added a couple more bays, so you're not waiting forever. I, in fact, took my Jeep down there late in the afternoon, and I picked it up by after the show the next day. So the tires, I mean, they just do work lickety-splickety for you, but thoroughly. But you're going to really appreciate Gene and his team and what they can do for you. They are also a Napa Auto Care Center, so more than 25 years in the business, so you can be sure and that it's going to be great for you. And by the way, again, there aren't many places that are going to fix your car and give you a 12-month or 12,000-mile warranty on qualified repairs. BenchmarkAutoRepair.com, BenchmarkAutoRepair.com.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
The Department of Veterans Affairs is so innovative, it not only improves the lives of veterans, it transforms the lives of healthcare professionals who serve them with access to the latest technologies and remarkable benefits. Transform your future at vacareers.va.gov.
2026, a great time to visit Lit Cigar Lounge. The Lit Cigar Facebook has numerous events from tastings to music. My main reason for going to Lit is always quality cigars, premium whiskeys. Odds are we'll see each other at Lit Cigar Lounge. A few doors down, Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta. Get a pizza baked over coals. Excellent crust and flavor. Or choose one of the many great pasta dishes. You won't leave hungry. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta and Lit Cigar Lounge in the Chesterfield Valley.
Columbo and Company.
Join us every day for conversations with a wide variety of guests as we keep you informed and up to speed on all the important news and headlines you need to know.
Live and local, weekdays at 2
on Newstalk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. Hello, and good afternoon. Prairie Flower, good afternoon to you. Thank you. Robert Boker, thank you. Matthew Hicks, haven't seen you in a while, brother. Good to see your name up there. And Jeff Bodie, how are you, man? Haven't talked to you guys in a while. Oh, Linda just popped up on there. And, of course, Amy. Hey, by the way, Amy, you had mentioned a possibility of all of us getting together from Radio Free Allman Nation. And I was at Santino Cigars and Whiskey Friday, and, man, was that fun. That is a great place right there off of in Imperial, off 55 at the Imperial exit. And it's really super cool. Scotty, how you doing, brother? Scotty Opelt's there. And Jared is there, too. What's up, man? That's a great place. Really super easy to get to because I'm kind of in the Clayton, Richmond. It took me like 15 minutes. But I had this really outstanding tequila. And it was just so great. Then this really great Italian beer. I can't remember what the name of it was. It wasn't Peroni, but it was really good. And Robin, the person who helped me with the food, and I met Rob, who was a Vietnam veteran. A lot of veterans and LEO and people go there, and it's really, truly cool. Mike Marino is just a lot of fun, and it's a great place. So maybe that's where we can have one of our gatherings, or at the Hideout. We'll figure it out. I'll talk to Rick about that, too. We can have two, for crying out loud. And I took a pizza home for myself and the kids, and a cheese pizza and a Italian sausage pizza. And so when I talked about Sicilian cuisine, I'm going to put a video up, by the way, on the Facebook page later on, next couple days or so. Get you guys revved up for the week and weekend. But Mike is not kidding about the Italian cuisine. That sauce, the tomato sauce on the pizza, was absolutely outstanding. It had this kind of sweetness, but also a hotness to it, too. It's really good. This pizza sauce, outstanding. So all the sauce is handmade, everything else. And Kathleen, so it is right there at 55, right off of, it's 55 and the Imperial exit. It's called Santino's. SantinoCigarWhiskey.com is where you can find it. So we all get together there sometimes. But it's a great place. It's a ton of fun, and you guys will really enjoy it. I got a real quick message to, from my buddy Lou. Talk about the comparison of these people to the, I was calling the Blue State Confederates. Last week, I also made another comparison, and that is, you guys realize, and hey, Laura Liz, how you doing, dear? You guys have to realize that these people are not freedom fighters. The people who are invading churches and attacking people and attacking the federal authorities and defending illegal aliens and predators and sex traffickers and fraudsters, these really are not freedom fighters. They are the redcoats. Somebody last week on the Facebook page said, you would, if we had the Revolutionary War, you'd never. No, dude, you guys are the crown. You left-wingers, the left wing in the Democrat Party, they're the kings in the crown that need a few musket balls sent their way if they don't watch out. I'm just telling you. That's how it's going to go. So lots of historical comparisons including the fact that the Democrat Party once again attacked a church. They did it during the days of Martin Luther King Jr., and now they're doing it all over again. Some things change and some things stay the same.
Want to work with a winner? Follow the multiplier. 279 times growth in total market cap in the past nearly 30 years. 50 times growth in client assets. And ranked the #1 wealth management firm for employee advisor satisfaction by J.D. Power 3 years in a row. Choose a winner. Choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE. For J.D. Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
News at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The National Religious Broadcasters is strongly condemning what it calls the premeditated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota yesterday.
President and CEO Troy Miller has issued a statement saying in part, quote, NRB stands unapologetically for the First Amendment freedoms of speech and religion, empowering Christian communicators in the church and beyond. Houses of worship are inviolable sanctuaries, shielded by law from such vile intrusions. When mobs cross that line to bully and terrorize, they endanger the liberties of all Americans. NRB calls on church leaders, Christian communicators, and believers everywhere to rally with urgency to protect our faith.
That is George Williams reporting. The demonstrators apparently believing some inside the church were involved with ICE. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has sought to de-escalate tensions between the U.S. and EU when it comes to Greenland.
Donald Trump says he would charge a 10% import tax starting in February on goods from 8 European nations, including the UK, because of their opposition to American control of Greenland, setting up a potentially dangerous test of U.S. partnerships in Europe.
That is Charles Ledesma reporting. The White House has announced members of a new Palestinian committee to run Gaza day to day, along with an executive committee of international experts to supervise those efforts.
Australian Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles said that his government welcomed the invitation.
We need to see that take hold. We need to see the parties in the Middle East work with this peace arrangement, because we need to see an end to the conflict. We need to see humanitarian assistance brought forward, and we need to see that part of the world rebuilt.
The official member list is expected in the coming days. The board of world leaders could rival the UN Security Council, which U.S. vetoes have blocked from taking action to end the war. I'm Hayat Panjwani.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Everybody loves the season of giving, but now the season of paying for it is upon us. That not-so-wonderful time of the year when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, stare in horror at the balance, and resolve then and there to find new ways to save money. If you're among those Americans, why not start by cutting your wireless bill in half right now with Pure Talk's Saver Plan? It's easy. You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super-fast, nationwide 5G network for just $20 a month. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Ho, ho, ho. And if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. That's pound 250. Say Mike Rowe for the gift that keeps on saving from America's wireless company, Pure Talk.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Sunshine, but cold temperatures today in the low 20s for the high. A dry day with the winds fairly light. It's going to be cold again tonight with lows down in the teens, and will warm up into the 30s tomorrow, probably the upper 30s in the afternoon under mainly sunny skies, and we'll make it to the 40s by Wednesday. Got an eye on our potential snowmaker for later this week and over the weekend, but a little early to cash in on that one yet. I'm Kent Earhart, First Alert meteorologist.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Streaming TV is where it's at. It's not about cutting the cord anymore. That's old news. It's all about your customized TV options. With the best and cheapest high-speed internet and your own TV subscriptions, we've got your dream TV lineup. Between wired and satellite internet and TV, you now have tons of options. Save money and get more internet speed and better TV today by calling the Whole Home Connect. We scan your location and offer you the best TV and internet options. And we always have specials and promotions. So when you call, ask about that. Take 5 minutes of your time, make this free call now, and learn how to save money and get better internet and TV for your home anywhere in the U.S. Make this simple and free call now.
800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. That's 800-257-1632.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone,
You have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
and listen anytime,
Anywhere.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. The 3 Martini Lunch. Jamie Allman here and Ashlyn over there. One quick thing about Santino. So Friday was Ethan's 36th birthday, my oldest son's 36th birthday. As you know, he's an Army veteran, turned 20 in Iraq in 2010. So when I met Rob at Santino's, he's a Vietnam veteran. And this just gives you a great example of really how there's a real high level of mutual respect and love between Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans and Vietnam veterans. And Vietnam veterans are really, really super protective of the Iraq veterans and the Afghanistan veterans, and it's really kind of cool and sweet to see that. And so even though, of course, Rob told me stories about being spat on and everything else and coming back here, and these guys still love this country and support it and everything else. And so he wanted to leave Ethan a message. I'm going to leave it private to a certain degree because it's kind of colorful. But Rob basically said, I want to tell your son that, when I was in Vietnam, I had a bunch of VC walk right by me while I was in the jungle, and they didn't see me. And he said, those guys in Iraq, like in Vietnam, we could hide. Like we had shelter. In Iraq, asphalt and concrete is all you had, and you couldn't hide. It was a lot harder to be a warrior in Iraq to a certain degree. But anyway, he said, I have a ton of respect for you, Ethan, and what you did. And so I put a tape on and put that out and sent it to Ethan, and he was really appreciative of it. And again, I'm not saying that Vietnam veterans had it easy. I'm just saying that that's the mindset. It was really super cool. All right. Old friend of mine, and you remember him from Fox News, and he still is just rocking it out there in the regular world. Info at KeithAblow.com. It's Keithablow.com. And he says, hey, anyone intent on overcoming a reversal or becoming more powerful as a person can reach out to me, and I've got a plan. So he certainly does. Keith, Dr. Ablow, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Jamie, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Long time no talk, and I think last time we talked, it was in a different time slot. But I wanted to follow up with you on your take on Maha and how things are going with RFK Jr. and his overturning the so-called apple cart, if you don't mind the pun, regarding the food pyramid and everything else. What's your take on all that?
My take on that is it's about time. Listen, the data keeps stacking up that everything we've been told about how to eat is wrong. And I'm so glad to hear that fats are not being demonized anymore and that protein is being sort of highlighted as a big need, and that, carbohydrate, sugar, that seems to be the leading cause of inflammation. Cancer cells love sugar. And if you want to be healthier, you're not going to make it so that you're eating tons of grains and tons of sugar and all these complex carbohydrates. You're going to accent protein, healthy fats, and as much natural food as you can instead of highly processed food.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I did a story a while back, and actually, one of the people I utilized in the story was none other than Michael Savage, who at one point, before he became this great talk show host, he was kind of one of these health experts. He was pretty on top of all this stuff, kind of the eating healthy. And this was back in the early 90s. And I'll never forget doing a story about something like low-fat salad dressing, for instance. And I explained that, if you don't put fat in the salad dressing, you have to find something else that will be a coagulant of some kind. And so they used this stuff called alginates. And I said, alginates are the very thing they use to lubricate drills in oil fields, okay?
What could go wrong?
Yeah, right, exactly. I know. And so what do you think the motivation was? Because I'd love to know what the mindset was in deceiving people regarding, for instance, eating fats or eating eggs or what have you. What was there a food industry motivation, or what was that?
Well, consciously or unconsciously, I think there was. I think some of these ingredients are very inexpensive. I think if you're going to keep selling things that you want to, that are in brightly colored packages and cheap to make, expensive to buy, and you label them low fat, you've dodged and weaved around the real issue. Low fat foods don't promote losing weight necessarily at all. In fact, we know that people who go on a carnivore diet, they tend to lose weight, not gain weight. They also have better moods in general. They may have much less anxiety. And so I think that there was, whether it was conscious or unconscious, a marketing desire to say, listen, we'll get on board the lose weight, have less fat craze. We don't have to do anything more expensive in terms of generating our food, perhaps less expensive. And we've got a new marketing line. This has been disastrous for people. There's absolutely no question that it was all inverted the wrong way. And you gave an honest guy coming to Washington, more than one, thank God, these days. And you start telling the truth, and people can have their energy back. They can avoid malignancies more, we hope. Their hearts can be healthier. The culprit is not fat and protein and the rest of it. The culprit is carbs and inflammation from simple sugars.
Yeah, and just to your point, too, about cheap products and a lot of this. So McDonald's went back to using beef tallow in their French fries, and I'm sure it was much cheaper to do whatever canola oil or whatever it was they were doing with the French fries. So, because I'm sure beef tallow was more of an outlay for McDonald's, so it was easy for them to use the other oil.
Absolutely. So fast foods, ultra-processed foods, snacks you buy in brightly colored bags, various kinds of chips and the rest of it. All these things were, just a bonanza for the food industry and fast food among that, the culprits. And so here's the thing, now we have a fighting chance to get to the truth and for people to be informed about the actual facts that were out there. You can say what you want about AI, but if you put these things into ChatGPT, it'll tell you generally the truth about this stuff too.
Yeah.
You're going to get very large if you eat lots of sugar and processed food. It's impossible not to. And if you eat all of these fast foods where they've substituted for natural ingredients that were said to be bad for you, you get bigger and bigger and bigger. You supersize yourself.
Yeah, that's true. And what's interesting too is, I guess, when you talked about inflammation, there still seems to be, and by the way, we're talking with Dr. Keith Ablow, and you talk about reversal. I'm going to bring that up with you about what you mean by reversal, because anyone intent on overcoming a reversal or becoming more powerful as a person can go ahead and reach out to Keith Ablow at info@keithablow.com, so he knows how to do it. I talked to a guy, speaking of reversal, so I talked to a guy who was a diabetic, and he said that he basically cured himself by completely changing how he would eat. In fact, so one of the ways he would eat, he would eat nothing out of a package. Nothing he would eat would come out of a package.
Smart.
That was one of them.
No question about it. That's a big win. And the other thing is controlling the times you eat. I think there is real data now behind the notion of having a window when you eat and other times when you don't. Sometimes that means eating from 1 p.m. or noon to 8 p.m., not eating outside those hours. Why? Because it gives your body a chance to rest, to not secrete insulin, because you don't have sugar intake during a long period of time. And that seems to help people lose weight and help them be healthier. So it's absolutely the case that you can have strategies for eating and choices that you make about your food that can dramatically affect how well you are, how you feel, but also what illnesses that you're vulnerable to.
That's interesting because my mom recently in September, my mom was 96 years old, and she and I were very close, and she passed away in September.
I'm so sorry.
But let me tell you something. We had these discussions, and I watched how she operated her whole life, even as a kid. Like, for instance, when we were growing up, there were no sugared cereals. There was like nothing. I mean, you no cookies, no soda, nothing. And so I asked her what her secret was in some ways. And part of the benefit to her was the fact that she was a farm girl growing up in Pennsylvania, and they ate everything was natural. So I think that helped build her a little bit. But she went on to become an adult, enjoyed her cigarettes and vodka, but one of the things that she didn't do was have a big dinner. So I'd always see my mom maybe kind of grazing on something in the morning. At lunch, it was moderate, and dinner was almost non-existent. So what was the thing? Breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper. Is that still true? Because you mentioned that 1 to 8 time slot.
Well, she was doing a modified controlled diet. Now there are folks who say, "Listen, I'm just gonna not have anything from literally the only hours I'll eat are between noon and 8 p.m." That's one way to do it, and so you eat out only within those hours, noon to 8 p.m. After 8, you're not snacking, you're not eating. And you're not eating, well, some people are not eating breakfast. So they're creating long periods of time when their body can simply go into autophagy, which means that your body itself is hungry for a few hours during that time when you're not eating. You tend to then consume your damaged cells. Your body literally goes and hunts for damaged cells and uses those for energy. So you're clearing out the damaged cells. That's what fasting does. And your mom had a variant of that where she was controlling her food intake at various times. And I'm sorry you lost your mom. My mom's 93.
Yeah.
She's battling cancer and hopefully will do fine with it. But, I looked into, well, what foods could be helpful? You get very clear data on broccoli sprouts, on mushrooms, on apple cider vinegar, tea, green tea, very powerful against cancer cells. And so if people start researching this and making it part of their daily routine, they're going to have a little bit of an edge against these illnesses.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I love that. We'll pray for your mom, Dr. Keith. I mean, I think that's great.
Thank you, my friend.
93 is great. I mean, I think my mom, she's a good old German, so she has those genes anyway. Her father lived to be 101. But again, just their habits were, I think the fact that they were benefited from being able to grow up naturally. I mean, actually, the flip side of that is my dad, who passed away at 71 from heart disease. But he was the oldest of 9, and these guys grew up moderately impoverished, or at the very least, their mom had to make things go. So what would happen is you'd make a big breakfast, you'd get all the grease from the breakfast, and then for lunch, you'd spread that grease on two things of white bread. And and so sometimes it's the luck of the draw that keeps people healthy too, and that's why it's such a concern. That's why RFK Jr., when he's talking about more even other communities that are eating junk too much and doing that kind of thing, that it's better to be access is what I think is truly important, and price, because some people that kind of freshness is out of reach for them price wise. So that's another task, I think.
1,000%, no question about it. And there are, supplements too that people should look to. For so long, doctors really and government said, well, there's nothing to it, these supplements. Now, if you really start doing your research, you hear things about like nattokinase, a supplement that can potentially clear your arteries from some of the plaque. It may not be so much about cholesterol, they're saying. Cholesterol might be okay for you. It might be more about, well, how do we get the fatty plaque out of our arteries? And there actually are supplements that can help with that. Curcumin, everybody, except if you have some contraindication, should be using curcumin that comes from turmeric, the spice, literally, right? And so it's from an Indian spice. It reduces inflammation. It reduces depression. It probably reduces cancer. And nobody can talk about, nobody's proposing that there's any terrible side effect to curcumin. Why aren't we all taking it?
Yeah,
We should be.
I take 3 a day, man. It's expensive. It still is about $70 a pop, but I'll tell you what, it does work. I started taking it last summer, and it really, you can feel it. I mean, it's really a wonder. It's a wonder supplement as far as I'm concerned. Really is.
Yeah, curcumin, boswellia is another one that reduces inflammation. The interesting thing to me is that for some reason, the word was put out like, it doesn't make any sense. Don't take vitamins, don't take supplements. That's just not true. Research which ones to take, but come up with your stack, if you will, of which ones make sense for you, that seem rational, that aren't going to interfere with any medicines you're on. And keep it in mind that if you ask a doctor, hey, should I take this? The doctor has limited upside to telling you definitely, right? Because then the doctor's got to put it in the chart. God forbid you get a rash. You're gonna, right?
Yeah.
What a doctor would tell his or her brother or sister, father, son, daughter is different than what they'll tell you, sadly.
Yeah.
Sadly. Right. And so you got to, in this way, be your own advocate.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dr. Keith Ablow, and you can go ahead and check it out to keithablow.com or info@keithablow. Let me ask you one quick final question then, because there's still a little bit of a debate, because I hear conflicting views of the seed oils. And I know that RFK Jr. has laid it out there that seed oils, even though people have been pushing them, are really not great. They're inflammation causers also, and they encourage that. And so I'm talking about canola, sunflower, whatever. And he recommends more of the line of like olive oil, that kind of thing. But I know there's kind of a discussion, though, among some experts as to whether or not seed oils are really that bad for you. What's your take on it?
Well, I know it's still a debate, but my reading of it is that seed oils are not great for you. And on the contrary, twice a day, I take a tablespoon of olive oil. Right? That's a healthy fat. That's going to sustain your mood. That's going to potentially fight cancer. It's going to potentially ward off heart disease. So, I'd say if we had Americans start taking curcumin, have a couple teaspoons, let's say, of olive oil a day, and take some vitamin C during the day as well, and a few others. Maybe it would be nattokinase that I'd say that's really intriguing. We could impact health in an incredibly powerful way. Omega-3 fatty acids, too, fish oil. So I think, if you don't have contraindications to these things, like a bleeding disorder or something, and most people don't, then we'd have really big impacts if we just said, hey, let's do this study, have a couple million people take these supplements, see what happens to them. We'd see good things.
Yeah, well,
but you're not going to wait for that study, so you're going to start now if you take my advice.
Right. No, I really have, like last week I told everybody, because I'm one of these, I will kind of go on kicks, and so I'm going to stick with these. So last week I announced that I'm only going to eat fish from now on. Like I bought a bunch of ocean perch. I bought some flounder.
Nice.
I bought some white anchovies that I love. They come, they're really cool and they last, forever if you don't eat them right away. But the white anchovies are great, and sardines. So I have to admit, I did kind of like yesterday watching football. I did make a couple chicken legs, that kind of thing. And I used olive oil. Actually,
Sure.
Cooking with olive oil is not as, I don't know why people don't think you cook with it, but cooking with it is great. So anyway, I started on all that. And I'll tell you, it makes me feel great. I'm not going to do it all the time, but I'm doing it most of the time. And it's delicious, too, on top of it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And these are simple choices. Like, you don't have to do this by revolution. You do it by evolution. And but quick, make some changes, I would tell people who are out there. And really, your listeners should be the healthiest people among us, God willing.
Yeah.
And start making these changes, adding a few supplements, accenting the olive oil, going for the fish, away from as much red meat, and staying away from sugar as much as possible.
All right. One more quick question. I feel like Columbo here. Because one of my listeners, Vicky, wants to know, and I think this is really important because we all know that these cholesterol drugs are a big deal. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar industry, the statin industry. And what do you think about statins? What do you think about the drugs people take to reduce their cholesterol?
I'm not going to tell anyone not to take a medicine that's been prescribed by their doctors. I will say this, they're reevaluating what a healthy cholesterol level really should be. I think we went on a kick to say it should be as low as possible, but, cells do need cholesterol. And in many, many studies that they used huge populations for, if they were able to reduce cholesterol, that doesn't mean that they were able to reduce overall mortality. So they may have impacted heart attacks, but other kinds of causes of death went up, amongst them in some studies, cancer. And so it's a dicey thing. Man, if you can control your cholesterol through diet, garlic, red yeast rice capsules, and a few other things, exercise, and making good choices with your food, you'd be so much better off. And losing weight, right? You'd be so much better off than having to take a daily dose of a cholesterol-lowering medicine that we know can cause diabetes, can inflame your liver, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, wow. So informative, buddy. I swear, I so appreciate you spending much time. I think I told you we'd be on 15 minutes, but
I'll stay with you all day. Yeah, whatever you need.
Well, thank you so much. So informative. I'm so excited, and I know my listeners are really super engaged in what you're telling us, so we appreciate you very much, Dr. Keith Ablow, and of course, back to continued prayers for your mom. So hopefully everything will be okay.
You're so kind. Thank you, Jamie.
And if you want to,
much appreciate it.
Oh, you're quite welcome. KeithAblow.com is the website. But if you want to go ahead and message him directly, trying to overcome some kind of reversal in your life, whatever that would be, health or otherwise, or become more powerful as a person, you can reach Dr. Keith Ablow at info@keithablow.com is where you can find him. So, Dr. Keith, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, thank you. The pleasure's mine.
Yes, sir. That is great info. I mean, I love this guy. And thank you for the questions, people. Vicky, that's a great question because I hear a lot about the debates over the statins and that kind of thing. So I think that was a pretty good answer. Just eat a clove of garlic every day or whatever. I don't know. Sometimes. Julie, what is the perimeter? She says she shops the perimeter of the grocery store. She knows a little trick, apparently. And Kathleen says, hey, didn't Jamie almost overdose on vitamin C? Actually, no, it was D. So, I'll tell you the story. I'll just stop this for a second and tell you the story. We're over time, but nobody... it's Martin Luther King Day. So we're going to celebrate MLK by blowing through a break. So here's the deal. I'll just tell you the story really quickly. So I am sometimes the kind of guy that figures, you tell me that a glass of wine a day is good for you. I always figure, well, then a bottle must be amazing. That's how I think. One time somebody told me that tequila was actually good for you. So now practically all I do is drink tequila, and sometimes too much of it because it's got agave. I'm like, oh, great. So anyway, but anyway, over the vitamin D thing, so what happened was, this is about 10 years ago, somebody told me vitamin D is the sunshine supplement. It's the good, it's when you like good for winter, it keeps your mood up, everything else. I'm thinking, oh, vitamin D does that. Okay. Then I'm going to go get some vitamin D and take a handful of it every day. A handful of vitamin D pills every single day. So after doing that for a couple months, maybe 3 months, 4 months or something like that, I started to just have like heart palpitations. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Like that was back, and I was working for Jeff Allen at the same time like I am now. And I went to see Jeff's sister, who's a medical professional, to see whether or not they could diagnose like what was going on with me, because I was feeling like I was going to have a heart attack all the time. It's crazy. It was like I was always so jittery and my heart was blowing out of my chest and everything else. And then one morning I'm doing the show, and they said that that the new information is out that elderly people only need 50,000 ICUs or whatever the hell it is a month. Because they were saying that elderly people needed D a month. Studies show they only need about 50,000 ICUs. I can't remember what the quantity was a month. And I realized, I'm thinking, oh, because he said it can be dangerous. I said, because I take 50,000 a day. Ashton's laughing, but I was taking 50,000 whatever they were a day. And what happens is, because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, it stores in your fat. It stores in your fat cells, so it stays in your body. And so it accumulates to the point where you can actually overdose on it. So had I not read that article, I don't know what would have ultimately happened to me, but I'm glad I didn't. Yeah, vitamin D. I don't even take it anymore. I think I suffered psychological problems from overdoing it. So anyway. All right, coming up, Peter Schweitzer has a brand new book out. It's pretty amazing, and it is about the purposeful destruction of this country through immigration. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Schneider's True Value Hardware, more than 100 years in Old Town St. Peter's. Isn't that pretty darn amazing, people? More than 100 years. And that just simply exudes old school, doesn't it? Of course it does. And so right there in Old Town St. Peter's, you've got Jerry Schneider. You've got his sidekick, Charlie. You've got a family-run operation where you have people who are not only on top of helping you through every little project, too big, too small, whatever it happens to be, they will help you out, get you set up with everything you need. And that's the kind of personal service that you're going to get from a small-town, family-run hardware store like Schneider's True Value Hardware. They also, though, are on top of the latest technology as it relates to the battery-operated lawn tools and things like that. The Steel brand is kind of this emergent, really great brand of hedge trimmers, lawnmowers, screwdriver, whatever it happens to be. Steel, S-T-I-H-L, is a great product, and Schneider's is a dealer of that. They also do repairs and parts and everything else right there at Schneider's True Value Hardware Store. More than 100 years in Old Town St. Peter's, and longtime sponsors of free Common Sense Conservative Radio. Check it out at truevalue.com/Schneiders, truevalue.com/Schneiders.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, Ashlyn over there, and you're in the right place. 3 Martini Lunch and Common Sense Radio. So, if you listen to Dr. Keith Ablow, the only sugar you should be taking in would be the sugar on the lips. You know what I'm saying? At least that's what Echo and the Bunnymen say. Congratulations to domestic terrorist Don Lemon. Really impressive watching Don Lemon and all of the creepy Democrats all temper tantruming there in Minneapolis, commemorating Martin Luther King Day by doing the same thing that the KKK did back during Martin Luther King's time, and that is attacking churches.
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them. And
then we go in and violate people's due process and freedom of assembly and all that, just like the KKK did.
And not abiding by the Constitution. When you start
Grand Wizard Don Lemon
doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the civil rights movement was about.
Yeah, we know what the anti-civil rights movement was about, Don. It was about attacking black churches and denying black people their rights to vote, keeping black children out of schools, everything else. But the civil rights movement was not about attacking churches. And so your brand new civil rights movement is charming, let me tell you.
The civil rights movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's
but it does tell you what you can't do, and that is violate people's civil rights, which is what Don and his group of Democrat goons did yesterday on the eve of MLK Day. Don Lemon should be, at the very least, charged with a civil rights violation, as should every single one of those people. And in this case, I do believe listen, I don't know. I don't like to reflexively attack Pam Bondi, but boy, would I like to know where the hell she is. And I have been asking where she is too often on this show. I wasn't really all that bent out of shape about the Epstein file things or whatever, because I didn't really understand what was going on, what have you. But the fact of the matter is, there are some Department of Justice moves that need to be made sooner rather than later here. The Somali who grabbed the camera, stole the camera from Nick Sorter. They traced the license plate to a Somali autism center. And, of course, they believe that the person who stole the camera is the offspring of the 2 Somali adults who own the autism center. And you guys remember what I told you about immigrant and refugee offspring. It might have been all fun and games 30 years ago, but now their spit has grown up. And they hate America, they defraud America, and they're racist. And they defend illegal alien rapists and everything else at the same time. So that's a problem. That's a thing. The fact that it's unbelievable that on the eve of a day commemorating the civil rights heroism of Martin Luther King Jr., that the Democrat Party would once again behave like the KKK did during his time and attack a church. It's really unbelievable. And here's the thing. Here's the problem. People like Don Lemon and others probably don't even understand how impossible it is to believe they would do that. The day before MLK Day, you're attacking a church, just like the Democrat KKK did back during MLK's time. It's hard to make this kind of stuff up, but they did. So congratulations to Don Lemon. You've really pulled it off. I hope you go to jail, or the DOJ takes your house or something. But we've got to see some arrests. We've got to see some response here, because this is getting very, very frustrating to watch and see. And how the news media ignores the travesty and the terrorism that is being meted out by these Democrats up in Minneapolis. It's pretty crazy. Well, I mentioned the immigrant offspring, because that's the one thing, then some of them are Democrats. That's the one thing the Democrat Party has added to its historical legacy. Aside from its hatred of blacks, it added Jews over the last 20 years or so. And pretty impressive there, Democrat Party. You're knocking yourself out. Peter Schweitzer in his new book, pretty damning. And it might not necessarily be the rapey Hispanic illegal alien that we ultimately have to worry about the most. Peter Schweitzer thinks there's something else up that we might not be paying attention to. I'll have that for you on the other side of this. It's Common Sense Radio.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just a convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about Buckingham Pest Control and Noel Buckingham. He is an amazing guy, a longtime friend and longtime supporter of free, common sense, conservative radio, going back 20 years, actually. Noel has a really great product for you, and it is an insulation product. So this is the TAP insulation. First of all, the T stands for thermally superior. The A stands for acoustically sound, and the P stands for pest control. So there is a proprietary substance inside of this insulation that he puts in your attic very easily. And you're also going to get a rebate from Spire when you put it into your attic. And it has a proprietary pest control element to it. And it keeps the pests out or kills them. Either way, the attic is usually where a lot of this kind of stuff comes forward. And that's where they love being up there, because it's easier to get into your house that way and then do whatever they're doing in terms of spreading out. So Buckingham Pest Control with the pest control insulation is really super awesome. I know we've got a couple of months of cold weather running through our veins still, but for your planning purposes, make sure you use Buckingham Pest Control. Think about them for your springtime pest control needs, for getting all this mosquito treatments going, all that kind of thing. And still for the winter, the brown recluse spider seemingly is like a thing in Missouri for some reason. And they love it when it's cold because they are all in your crib right now. So you need to be careful. And he's got a special process for getting rid of the brown recluse spider once and for all in your home. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
They served our country with honor. Now it's our turn to serve them. Join the freedom13.org for an unforgettable gala honoring America's heroes, February 27th at the Foundry Arts Center in St. Charles. A special evening supporting Freedom 13's bold mission. 50 camps in 50 states on more than 50,000 acres, building 650 homes for veterans, police, and their families. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities are available now. Visit thefreedom13.org. That's thefreedom13.org.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
What new chaos and crises did Joe Biden start over the weekend? We'll discuss at 4:25 with former U.S. Senator Jim Talent. Red State Headlines at 5:25 with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. Multitasking last night, watching the Bears and the LA Rams. Had to write a contract on a home. I had this idea because, I was going to buy some chicken wings, and make chicken wings. I like doing that. But you had to buy like 100 of them. And I'm not going to spend $25 on 100 chicken wings. So I wanted like 12 of them. But I couldn't find them. So I bought drumsticks. 4 of those for like $5. I'll make some drumsticks. They're like wings, except they're not. They're just bigger drummies, I guess. So I baked them. They said, a good way to crisp them up is to use baking powder on them. And I guess it's supposed to be a light dusting, but I put them in a bag and shake them like shake and bake. And I helped. But I think I put too much baking powder on them. Because when I ate them, I felt like I was eating a bacon powder stick as opposed to like a drumstick. So I screwed that up. Let me figure out another way. Make good wings though, but yeah. Baking powder, I didn't know that, but I think I put too much on there, of course. It's supposed to be a light dusting, not a caking. But, oh well. Vicky, I have Aiden's air fryer, but that he used in college, brought it home, but I didn't know how to work it. It just looked too complicated for me. I really was going to use the air fryer though, but I just turned the oven on to 450 or whatever and just baked the crap out of it. Cornstarch, okay, Ashlyn, I will next time. They had baking powder. I didn't know how well that was going to work, but I figured isn't that kind of the essence of shake and bake? I have no idea. All right, anyway. This is interesting, and this is kind of the next phase of the fight against the takeover of this country. It's going to have to be a showdown that goes beyond the showdown we're having with the rapey Venezuelans and those kinds of people. Because apparently those are not the people that have been causing the most damage to this country and have been kind of starting to nest in this society to the point where it's going to get really bad in the next decade or so. Peter Schweitzer is the author of The Invisible Coup. And the cut line on it is How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon. And this was really surprising to me. One of the things that he brings up is the Chinese elites that have exploited the birthright citizenship policies in this country, which is why birthright citizenship needs to be blown apart by the Supreme Court. And the Chinese have started to engage in a practice known as birth tourism. Chinese moms intentionally travel to the United States, give birth on American soil, and so the newborn children automatically are granted U.S. citizenship. And one of the birth tourism's biggest appeals is the chain migration that comes with it. So Peter Schweitzer says where such children, when they turn 21, they can also apply for resident status for both of their parents. This is crazy. To demonstrate the extent of the practice, he uses the U.S. territory of Saipan in the Pacific as an example, saying that more than 70% of the newborns in Saipan are birth tourist parents who utilize the territory's 45-day visa-free visitation rules and all that kind of stuff. And they're doing it here to the point where there's a possibility of the Chinese, basically more than 1 million Chinese with U.S. citizenship could vote in the 2030 elections. That's how this is going to roll, he says.
We all saw Biden's border madness. But what if the next invasion is invisible? Through birth tourism, over 1 million Chinese nationals born on U.S. soil could soon be voting in American elections from inside China. Meet the Manchurian generation, U.S. citizens on paper who've never lived in America. Educated in CCP-controlled schools, indoctrinated against us, yet eligible to vote in our elections. #1 New York Times bestselling author Peter Schweitzer exposes the next threat we face. This isn't immigration. This is a political weapon. Read the book that...
So that's scary, and Peter Schweitzer is pretty locked down as an investigative reporter, and this is real. And the thing that has to be discussed about this, because this is a longer-term problem for the United States of America and for our children growing up in it. And again, we think that that this is really just about a bunch of Venezuelans and Mexicans and things like that, when there is something else going on that might be more threatening to this country. Now, I'm not saying that these people are not threats to the country. You know what I'm saying. But this is something that is generational. Another element of his book is called The Pillar of Jihad. And the headline on that is Jihadist Leaders View Immigration as a Key Component to Subvert the United States of America. And there was one guy who wound up giving a speech to a group of people, and this was way back in Jerusalem at some point. And this guy's name is Sheikh Mohammed Ayed, and he's urged Muslims in the West to be patient. The dark night will be over, he declared, saying, soon we will trample them underfoot, Allah willing. We will breed children with them. We shall conquer their countries, whether you like it or not, oh Germans, oh Americans, oh French, oh Italians. And we already have seen what they have done and achieved in France and Germany. and to a smaller extent, maybe in Italy. But their focus is also on the United States of America. And we've seen what just a small but big community in the Somalian community, how much damage they can do when they are hell-bent on undermining this country and when they don't respect it and everything else. So Schweitzer's book is pretty provocative, and so I'll make an effort to get him on the air. I've interviewed him before, and he's really super interesting. But that might be the next frontier in the war on immigration that isn't helping this nation, and in fact is being used, our freedoms, to destroy it. So see how that goes. Well, thanks for listening to this live MLK Allman Report. Appreciate you as always. Ashlyn, thank you so much. Hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day. And coming up, Tony Colombo and Colombo and Company. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Ronald Reagan once famously said, "Government is not the solution, government is the problem." When it comes to economic growth, government can be a roadblock. With red tape, regulations, and subsidies, government stifles entrepreneurship and also props up businesses that deserve to go under. Unlike government, free markets encourage risk-taking, freedom to succeed or fail. Governments shouldn't be picking winners and losers, the market should. Free markets benefit the business owner and the customer by encouraging competition. Free market enabled a young man named J.C. Hall selling picture postcards in Kansas City to turn his idea into Hallmark cards. In St. Louis, the free market made it possible for Adolphus